Hello my friends, we all expect the future counterattack of Ukrainian army and Russia also waits for it, but we don't know the exact location, but we know that it will happen. I personally think that it will highly likely be in this area on the south or maybe on the northern part of Luhansk region. Well, Russia also tried to find out the possible place based on the information about the Ukrainian army fuel reservoirs. The more fuel you have close to the front lines, the higher the probability it is to start the assault mission. So Russians used their satellites, drones and other surveillance systems to find out the Ukrainian reservoirs, and they did it. But the problem for Russia that Ukraine accumulated lots of the fuel hubs across the front lines, and it's hard to predict where the counteroffensive will start. We have the fuel hubs in every part, in every region, and they're equally full. And there are some signs that the Ukrainian counteroffensive may start very soon. Let me show you some of the pictures. We have the new marking for our vehicles. You can see the arrow and the numbers. This is the truck, the vehicle that delivers the armored vehicle to the front line. Probably it's Bradley, it's under the cover, so it's hard to say. The same symbols we got for other military units. For example, this is the tank, and this is the other armored vehicle and the other truck. And this video of the T-55S, that is the modernized version of the old Soviet T-55 tank, but it's more capable and it has the sign on the side. So here it goes. Oh, there's lots of the smoke with this old engine. So this is the arrow with some numbers. The numbers are for regiments, units, or something like that, I think. And remember, just before the successful Kharkiv counteroffensive operation of Ukrainian forces, some of the images started to appear in the media showing the white crosses on Ukrainian armored vehicles. So I guess we have the new symbol to identify friendly vehicles for the future counterattack. Russians have their traditional Zs, Os and Vs. More about this tank: even though it is the modified version of the T-55, it's still not good against the modern Russian tanks, so probably it will go in a second wave behind the Leopards or Challengers, and it will support our infantry against the enemy BTRs. And we have some of the changes on the front lines, but before we go to them, let me tell you about the partner of my channel and also the sponsor of my channel, the Atlas VPN. 2 months ago, they introduced the big deal for my followers and subscribers where you can get the huge discount for the Atlas VPN Premium. It is the best deal on the market right now from all of the VPNs, and the Atlas VPN is the best VPN service out there. Let me tell you why. Using the Atlas VPN, I may change my virtual location and may call from any kind of country, as well as Netflix. Some of the content is not available for some of the countries, so using Atlas VPN may open you new borders for the streaming services as Netflix. And by changing your virtual location on Atlas VPN, you may purchase the airline ticket with great discount, as well as booking apartments for your holidays somewhere. I highly recommend you to check out the link in the video description just below, where you can have the 3 years offer for just $183 per month, and that is how you can get 83% of discount and together with 3 months for free. This is limited offer available for my personal link, so go ahead and grab it. My friends, this product is really awesome. And now let's zoom into the Bakhmut city. We have some of the changes there. Kromova is under the threat to be attacked by the Russian forces from the north. So it was like that before and it is today like that. So Russia moved around 500 meters over here. Let's measure the distance. Yes, it's around half of the kilometer. It's quite a lot for the scale we have in the Bakhmut city. The Kromova is a very important small village just next to the Bakhmut because it has 2 major important crossroads, like this one and like this one. This road Ukraine uses Ukraine uses for supplies of our group in the Bakhmut city. As you can see, Ukrainian army successfully keeps the western side of the city under control, and there were no any changes inside the city for the recent 24 hours. And I have the video to show you the current condition of that supply road. So here we are, this is the road. You can see lots of the vehicles near to the roads. Maybe some tried to evacuate from the city, and mainly those vehicles were providing supplies for the city, and they were totally demolished by the Russian artillery. And still you can see that the weather is getting better. The soil is still wet outside, but in 1.5–2 weeks it will be more or less dry, and we may go across the fields to supply the Bakhmut city. So by that time Khromova would not be as important as it is today. And from Bakhmut, let's go to Avdiivka. Unfortunately, Russia was able to take some of the territory over here. I'm very surprised because I know that Ukrainians performed a successful counterattack somewhere in the city. Probably Deep State doesn't want to show us the success of Ukrainian army. I got the information confirmed from the social media of Ukrainian soldiers, plus Russians confirmed that. Also, the war criminal Strelkov says that Russian army had to retreat from some of the areas with heavy losses. And they also sent the elite forces from Avdiivka to Bakhmut because now they want to concentrate on the single direction to have some sort of the success. So for Avdiivka, I'm quite optimistic. And I forgot to show you yesterday, President Zelensky attended Avdiivka just on the front lines. He met with our soldiers. That will increase the spirit of the Ukrainian army out there. So I guess it was the response for the Putin's visit, and Putin was over here, very far away from the front lines, around 130 kilometers. Plus Russia moved a little in Crimea over here, so it was yesterday and it is today. Not really a big deal. There are no any villages and nothing. So basically Russia has the major success in Bakhmut, but again it's very slow. This month they will not be able to encircle the Bakhmut city, and they're not trying to do it. They move from the north over here to try to get Khromova under their control. That's their main goal. They don't have resources to encircle our forces, no way. And in general about the Ukrainian future offensive, I'm not great supporter of that one, yes, because I understand that if we go on attack, we're gonna lose many of our soldiers. The attacking side usually loses 3 times more soldiers compared to defense, but unfortunately we don't have the other way out. The best case scenario would be for Putin to withdraw peacefully his forces from Ukraine, but he will never do it. And the Ukrainian army cannot just stay in defense forever, because potentially Russia has many more resources compared to Ukraine. They have more soldiers and more natural resources, so potentially in the future they may gain more ground from Ukraine, as they're doing right now, little by little. So the main Ukrainian strategy would be to advance very quickly as we did in Kharkiv. We need to cause panic in the Russian command and between the Russian soldiers. That's the only way to win this war, to penetrate their defense line and go to Crimea at least. After that, there is the great probability that the front lines will just start to collapse for Russia. And as Ukrainian, I do believe in Ukrainian armed forces, and I trust our generals, who are way smarter compared to the Russian generals. The British defense minister says that Ukraine will maintain a strong position, but we must be realistic. There will be no magic moment then Russia collapses. I disagree with that. I think that in the future Russia will be formatted, and the probability for it to collapse into different states is quite high, but it will not happen tomorrow. It will happen after some period of time, probably 10 years, something like that. The process could be similar to the Soviet Union. Soviets were fighting in Afghanistan for 10 years, accumulating problems in their society plus sanctions that Western countries provided against them. And finally, they lost that war. They had to retreat their soldiers from Afghanistan, and just after 3 years, because of the crisis in the Soviet Union, it just collapsed. The same I expect from Russia. So Ben Wallace says that he is confident in the planned counteroffensive of the armed forces of Ukraine. It is good. But the war will continue next year. Obviously, we already see that it will continue the next year. I was recording the video today, then I got the information about the flash that sparked into the skies of Kiev. 100% it was the meteorite. Some say that it was the NASA satellite that should go from the orbit into the ocean today, but the orbit of that satellite is really far away from Ukraine, so it wasn't it. And we have lots of the memes with UFOs already, because locals reported the UFOs. About the space topic, Russia tries to interfere the jab of the Starlink over Ukraine. Trying to do it, they spent several months experimenting with Tobol EV system. This system is ground-based, a very powerful radar that is used to disrupt the signal for the satellites. It is mostly used to protect the Russian satellites against the external interference, but also could be used to disrupt the operation of the enemy satellites. But from the information I have from the volunteers and from people in Ukraine, Starlink works fine. Also, according to the information published by our Scandinavian allies, Denmark, Norway, Sweden and Finland, Russia is getting ready for sabotage in the North Sea. Some of the Russian ships did the strange moves there, and their maneuvers were investigated by allies, and they say that Russia is planning to cut the internet and also the power cables from the power turbines. So I guess that our allies will take extra measures to reinforce the vulnerable areas of the North Sea. It is awesome day for Ukrainian military support. The new military package was announced from the United States of America, and you can see that mostly we have the HIMARS rockets and artillery ammunition, plus some logistics support. I was kind of concerned about the HIMARS ammunition because today there was the Wall Street Journal article published that United States of America is unable to increase the production of those ammunition because there are not enough rocket engines from the manufacturer Lockheed Martin Corporation. From what I understood, they're still capable to produce the ammunition for HIMARS, but they cannot increase the production for now, but still the United States of America support the ammunition to Ukraine. We get the first photo of the Patriot systems delivered to Ukraine. Those were in Germany before. We're gonna receive many more in the future, but for now it should be enough to start the counteroffensive in Ukraine. And this picture was taken by one of the soldiers of 47th Special Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Here you can see Bradley. The photo was taken also from the Bradley. And there are two T-55S tanks, so they're on the drills right now. You see that if they're on the drills together, those tanks for sure will be used as the support for the Bradleys and for the infantry. And the next week we're gonna receive Leopard 2 tanks from Spain. And basically I think that we'll receive all of the Leopard 2 tanks promised to Ukraine. Pardon if I'm wrong, but still there will be Leopard 1 delivery to Ukraine as well. Usually they go to Poland by sea or by air, and after that to Ukraine. Also we have received one more RST system, which is great, and there will be many more. As for the ammunition for the air defense systems, Financial Times writes the article that Kyiv is in lack of their rockets. Well, I called to the guys from one of the units and they say that they have enough rockets. Well, maybe it's just for their unit and other units do not have enough rockets, not sure about it. What I think that this article was published just before the Ramstein meeting, and Ukraine will point out that we need more ammunition for the air defense. According to Reuters, South Korea may also supply Ukraine with military aid. At least we got this information from the South Korean president. He says that if there is a serious threat to the Ukrainians, the South Korea will start supplying weapons to Kyiv. Well, something tells me that we already have a serious threat to Ukrainians. He says that if a situation arises that the international community cannot accept, such as large-scale attack of civilians, it will be difficult for us to insist only on humanitarian or financial support. We'll send weapons, he said. Yes, it's basically the time to send weaponry, don't you understand? Well, I guess that the South Korean president may be just unaware of what is happening in Ukraine. For example, this happened yesterday in Odessa, and we have daily bombing of the Ukrainian citizens. So definitely Ukrainians are under the big threat. We need ammunition. It would be very kind from your side if you join the club of the military supporters of Ukraine. The Kremlin spokesman Peskov denied the statement about the second wave of mobilization in Russia. He says that there is no talk about the second wave of mobilization in Kremlin, but the same words he said around 2 weeks before the first wave of mobilization last year. So it's like a child game, then he says no, it means yes. And here you can see the Russian military facility. I can confirm that because there is the symbol of the Russian army and there is the long queue in it. Those are mostly young men and they came for mandatory service, not for the contract. Every spring and every autumn Russian army got the young Russian men for the mandatory service, which is 1 year, and it's been confirmed that those soldiers were also spotted in the war in Ukraine. And now the Russian army forced them to sign the special contract after they finish the mandatory service, so they will stay in the army. And that's why I continue to tell you about the importance of the Ukrainian counterattack for it to happen in a nearby future, because Russia gets more and more resources. And as I said to you before, there is some problem with the Ukrainian soldiers. We don't have enough people in the army, not enough volunteers. Let's say everyone who wanted to serve in the army is already serving, so now Ukrainian officials decided to take the men from the universities and from colleges. Before, the Ukrainian army couldn't take the students into the army because there is the constitutional right for the students to continue their education, and now Ukrainian officials decided to change that. Yeah, what can I say? My country just got devastated by the war and we are losing our people, so we need many decades to recover after the war is over. And about the Wagner army losses, we have the statistics for the Russian prisons. Last year they lost almost 33,000 prisoners. The news about the Russian Immortal Regiment parade, it will be cancelled this year for the first time. The idea of parade is to walk with the portrait of your relative who served in the Soviet Red Army during the Second World War. But because many people in Russia do not have relatives who served in the Soviet Red Army, they put fakes. This is the Russian peace propaganda stuff that is started around 12 years ago, so it's not the Soviet tradition. And since last year they start to put their Z heroes on those placards, and you see what happened after those paid parades. They basically throw them away. And this is the best illustration of the modern day Russia and their attitude towards their heroes. Finally, the United States have decided to cut the investments into some areas of China's economy. We are speaking about the technological and military development. Yeah, I think it's the proper way to do, because China uses the Western technologies against the Western world. From the poor country, China managed to grow up into the second economy of the world because of the United States and other allies. Yeah, I think it was a very big mistake to invest into the communist country. About Sudan, it seems like the army started to gain the control over the lost positions. They took control over the part of the airfield. They took control over their headquarters station and now sent more reinforcements into Khartoum. Even some Humvees were spotted. We also have those. This is the air defense system on top, and some of the reinforcements were sent into the area. Probably those are the Egyptian soldiers returning back to Egypt. My friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine, and now if you want to support my channel, please go to the video description below where you may find my personal link for the Atlas VPN, where you may get the Atlas VPN Premium with a great discount. Don't miss this big deal. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.